Good evening. This is Talking Sports with Evan. It's a Wednesday before Thanksgiving edition of Talking Sports with Evan. Took last week off. Decided I wanted to save my voice for the trip to Madison I was taking last Friday to call the WIA Division One state championship game between the Marquette Hilltoppers and the Franklin Sabres, which the Hilltoppers ended up getting the victory. It was very fun, exciting experience to call the Marquette Hilltopper games all season long and watching them and seeing them in Madison to win the state title, the first one since 2009. But like I said last week, wanted to rest my voice a little bit for that. Why I didn't do a live show last week, but I am back today. I'm going to do a Packer recap from their win over the Chargers. Exciting win, 23-20. Offense still would be nice if they put more points on the board, but overall, the offense answered the test and probably playing their best all-around performance. I should say their best passing performance all season long. Jordan Love going 27 of 40 for 322. First Packer quarterback going through 300 yards since the end of the 2021 season. No, Aaron Rodgers did not hit 300 once last year, and Jordan Love had not hit 300 yet this season. Passing game, like I said, very good. I was very impressed with what I saw with the passing game, and the ball got spread around quite a bit. 10 different receivers with a catch. Should have wrote that down before the show, but didn't really realize it until I pulled the stats up in front of me. But we had 10 different receivers with at least one catch. And the two that really stand out to me is the rookies, Dontavian Wicks and Jaden Reed. Tucker Kraft had a nice catch and run. Luke Musgrave had a couple nice plays in that game, and Romeo Doubs with the game-winning touchdown reception. I'm very happy with what I've seen from the offense and from Jordan Love the last several weeks. And if you're not going to say over the course of the last 3 weeks that Jordan Love has taken a step forward, you're not looking for it. Ultimately, you're looking for his quote unquote failings rather than looking at the game objectively. You're looking at plays and situations to fit your narrative. He had 2 bad throws against Pittsburgh that resulted in interceptions. Missed a couple guys just barely against Pittsburgh, and missed a couple throws with the Rabs. We wish we could have back, and then the same against the Chargers. But overall, Jordan Love, to me, has gotten better as the weeks have gone by. He looks more confident. He looks more poised. He looks like he believes he can make all throws. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Jordan Love's productivity and his poise have gotten better as Jaden Reed and Dontavian Wicks have become more of a focal point in the offense. They look more comfortable playing the offensive position of football. I don't think it's a coincidence. I think the two are mirroring each other side by side, that the better those two players play, the more confident Jordan Love is getting. And I think we saw early on this season in spurts where Love is playing he's playing with, a very inexperienced group, and the group looks inexperienced, making rookie mistakes, running wrong routes, not being in the right spot. And as the season has gone on, we have seen Jordan Love seem a lot more comfortable as the young guys around him has gotten more comfortable as well. I think that's important to note and important to mention, is that as those two receivers in particular and Luke Musgrave as well have really started to play much better the second half of the season, I guess we'll call it, Jordan Love's numbers are getting better and the offense is running more running more productive. I still think Goody made a mistake by not having more around your first year starting quarterback, and we had to live, and we're still going to live through growing pains too, because teams are going to scout, break down film, try to take away what the Packers have been doing, and force the Packers to adjust to the adjustments. And this is what was saying prior to the season. This is what I've been saying during the season. It's not about wins and losses this year, although the wins are quite nice when we do win. Feels good to beat the Chargers. It felt good to beat the Rams. It's always good to beat the Bears. And, we beat the Saints, came back to beat the Saints after playing bad most of that game. But it's about the process. It's about guys getting comfortable, expanding, learning their roles, and getting better week in, week out. And we're starting to see that finally. We're starting to see that in Reed and Wicks finally grow, develop, and get better week to week to week. It'd be nice if Christian Watson could show some of the potential he showed last year, but it clearly has not been a great season for Christian Watson. Had a nice touchdown catch against the Chargers. Great play, great route, great throw, and all three together led to a touchdown to put the Packers up at that point. And then they missed the extra point, of course. But then they made the touchdown late in the game to get up 23-20. Be nice to see Watson start making some plays again. And it'd be nice if Jordan Love can get that deep ball a little bit better. It's very inconsistent, and he still tends to put too much air under it, and it just kind of hangs up there in the air, and the defender is able to recover and make a play on it. Rather have him put a little bit more of a rope on it. Would have loved to see that on his pass to Luke Musgrave, that if Musgrave doesn't fall down, it would likely go to 6. So saw a lot of positivity against the Chargers offensively. And they finished. 2 weeks in a row, they had a chance to win the game late. 2 weeks ago, they had an opportunity to win the game late. They've had that opportunity numerous times this season where they've had a chance to win it late, and they fall short. They finally finished it. They finally closed it out. And the offensive line, especially Elgton Jenkins, finally being healthy. Elgton Jenkins and Zach Tom have looked very good this entire season. Unfortunately, some of the other guys out there have not. The negatives for the game, I think, is pretty simple. Defense. The defense got shredded. Yes, they only gave up 20 points, and I know that's something a lot of people are harping on, that, the defense isn't playing great. They're not giving up a lot of points. But the Chargers dominated the Packers' defense. They just didn't finish it where it counted most, and that was putting the ball in the end zone. They had 394 yards of total offense, 244 through the air, 150 on the ground, averaging 6.4 yards per play. That's not good. That is not good at all. They ran a total of 62 plays, only had to punt 3 times. The issue the Chargers had is you had receivers like Keenan Allen, had a couple big drops. One of them would have been a touchdown for sure. Quentin Johnson dropping a pass on the final possession of the game that would have at worst put them in field goal range. If he's able to turn upfield and run, he's gone. And they had a fumble inside the 5-yard line that the Packers recovered. The Chargers shot themselves in the foot repeatedly, and that's ultimately the only reason why the Packers were able to win this game. Because defensively, they did not look good. And the run defense, especially outside of Kenny Clark, did not play well. The middle linebackers didn't play well at all. Devondre Campbell let a tight end get wide open and catch and run for a touchdown. You had Quay Walker, who I'm high on Quay. I think he has potential to be a very good linebacker in the NFL. I think he has all the ability and the potential to be very good. The issue is he plays indecisive sometimes, and I think part of that is him being a young guy still learning how to play linebacker in the NFL position. I think once he gets more reps under his belt and he's able to just play football instead of having to overthink things, I think he'll be fine. But right now, he's inconsistent, and some games are better than others for him. And Sunday was not a good game for him, and it wasn't a good game for Isaiah McDuffie either. And it wasn't a good game for Wyatt. Slayton had a couple nice plays overall, but the Packers need to be better up front. Teams are going to run all over them, and other teams, and if you catch the Chargers, I'm sure any other night, any other day, they'll make you pay. They just didn't play well in Green Bay and couldn't take advantage of the Packers defense, letting them just completely dominate. I mean, get dominated. The Chargers couldn't take advantage of dominating the Packers defense. And the other negative, more injuries. Luke Musgrave is now on the IR. That's not good, especially with the injury, lacerated kidney. Emmanuel Wilson is now on the IR. Aaron Jones is likely out a couple weeks. He's week to week, it says, but he's out a couple weeks with a knee sprain. Dontravian Wicks is dealing with concussion and a knee. Jaden Reed is dealing with a chest issue, is what they say. Reed is expected to play. Wicks is questionable. But, we'll see. A.J. Dillon's dealing with a groin issue. He'll be playing more than likely. But then you got James Robinson, who they brought back. Him and the other back they just signed probably feel like a yo-yo, coming and going so much. But the injuries just keep piling up. And now they're playing a tough game in Detroit on Thanksgiving against the Lions, and a game that I don't see a lot of good coming out of this game. The Lions are 8-2. The last couple times the Lions have played Green Bay, they've just dominated. I know score-wise, the end of the season last year, the score was close. But last time the Packers played the Lions, for sure, the Lions just completely dominated and out-physicaled Green Bay. And that's been the biggest issue with Green Bay, especially when they play a team like the Lions. They just get out-physicaled. They get beat at the line of scrimmage and just out-physicaled, and they don't respond well to being just completely out-physicaled by their opponent. The Packers can win. Will they win? Probably not. But the Packers can win, and here's how they can win this game. They have to establish the run. I don't think there's any way around it. The last time these two teams played, they lost 34-20, and it's like they had no interest in establishing the run at all. They had 12, if you count two runs from Love where he had -2 yards, they had 12 rushing attempts. 5 by Jones, 5 by Dillon. Jones had 18 yards, Dillon had 11 yards. They had no interest at all in that game to run the football whatsoever, and Jordan Love threw the ball 36 times with 2 interceptions, one of which Romeo Doubs should have stopped his route. I should say he didn't stop his route where he should have, and he ran into the end zone, and Love put the ball where he thought Doubs should be. But they, as I said, they showed no interest in trying to run the football, and it just ultimately bit them in the butt, because by the time they finally decided to maybe run the ball a little bit, it's now a 17-3 game, and it doesn't look good for Green Bay. But if the Packers need to find a way to try to establish the run if they want to beat the Lions this week. Other way, Watson needs to show up. Christian Watson needs to show up and play better football, because you're without Aaron Jones, you're without Luke Musgrave. Wicks is dealing with concussion and a knee. Not sure if he's playing or not tomorrow. You have Reed, who's dealing with a chest injury, who's going to play, but he might be limited. Christian Watson needs to step up, and he had the big breakout game last year. I forget exactly who it was against, but he had a huge breakout game where he seemed to finally he finally seemed to figure it out in the NFL. And then this year has not been good for Christian Watson, but he needs to really show up and be the Christian Watson that the Packers drafted him to be. They also defense needs to make stops. They gotta stop the run. The last time Detroit played this team, the last time the Packers in Detroit played, they were able to pretty much run the ball at will. Back on September 28th, you had David Montgomery, 32 carries for 121 yards and 3 rushing touchdowns. And he also had 2 catches for 20 yards. And Gibbs had 8 carries for 40 yards. And Khalif Raymond on a end around had 1 carry for 40. The Lions were able to do whatever they wanted on the ground, which then opened up the passing game a little bit. Goff ended with a 210 yards, a touchdown, and interception. Jared Goff is going to give you some passes that are potentially interceptable footballs. When he gives those to you, you got to take advantage of those. You have to take advantage of the 50-50 balls that Jared Goff is going to give you and make them pay. The Packers got one against Detroit the last time these teams played, but they were unable to finish the drive, and they had to settle for a field goal. And Love needs to show, and take that next step. He needs to be able to take that next step in his development and beat and play well against a very good defensive team. That's what we need to see. And as I said, can the Packers win? Yes. Will they? Probably not. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be pretty ugly. The deck is just too stacked against Green Bay, and I'm guessing it's probably going to be a rout. Well, if the Packers score 10 points, I will be quite surprised. Moving on, time to talk some baseball as I'm watching the Bucks game, and I'll talk about the Bucks in a bit. But not looking good for the Bucks, and honestly, I don't feel the Bucks have. I don't think the Bucks defense has an answer for anything on Boston's offense. I guess I'll talk about the Bucks right now. It's one game in November. At the end of the day, it's not going to mean much. And I keep looking over at my TV. It's not going to mean much. It's one game in November. Unfortunately, though, in order for the Bucks to beat Boston offensively, they have to play well. And tonight, they're not. If they can offensively, they can match Boston point for point. They got nobody who can stop anybody on Boston, unfortunately. Every player on the Celtics is a complete and utter mismatch for anything the Bucks want to do defensively. Tatum can kill you, Brown will kill you, Porzingis will kill you, Holiday will kill you. They just don't have an answer for what the Celtics want to do offensively. They don't. That's just the reality of it. And it seems like every time the Bucks play Boston, Boston shoots ridiculous from the field. They can't miss at all. But with the Bucks, you too frequently have, and it's been the case when they played Boston recently, they go ice cold, can't make shots, and Boston takes advantage of it. Dame Lillard had a horrible first half. Horrible. 7 points, shot horrible. Giannis had double digits, but shot horrible. Chris Middleton shot horrible. The only chance the Bucks have in beating Boston in the playoffs is the offense has to come to play. Boston's not doing anything defensively that makes me worried. The problem is the Bucks aren't making shots, and you're not going to be able to stop Boston. You got to be able to answer offensively and get on runs offensively and slow them, at least attempt to slow them down a little bit when Boston's on offense. And today they can't. And it's just because they're outmatched. Boston has too much offensive firepower, and they just need to find other ways to potentially go up against the the Celtics. Today, I'm chalking up as a loss. I know it's still a lot of basketball left, but they're not winning tonight. They can't. I don't think they're going to get enough stops to win tonight. They're down 84-70 in the third quarter, and the first quarter, the Bucks got outscored 29-17. It's been pretty close after that. They lost the second quarter 36-38, and right now in the third quarter, they're 17-17 all in the third quarter. The Bucks need stops. They need to make stops in order to cut this lead down to have a chance to win it in the fourth. And I just don't feel the Bucks have enough defense against this Boston team to come up with enough stops to win this game. I just don't feel they do. But it's one game in November. It's not going to mean anything. Several weeks from now, several months from now, it's not going to mean anything. But for one night in November, it doesn't look good for Milwaukee. Nice little alley-oop to between Giannis and Dame, I believe. Giannis with the dunk. Good offense to see there. But we just need to get stops, and they can't. And they score on a nice little alley-oop to make it 80-68, and Boston comes down and scores easily on the other side. They just don't have enough defense to get enough stops against Boston. They just don't. The Brewers named a new manager in Pat Murphy. It's been about a week, and now that I had a chance to think about it, it makes sense. You're likely going to be even younger in 2024 than you were in 2023, and Murphy's a guy that has experience working with young guys. He was a college coach for a number of years. He was a manager at Notre Dame and at San Diego State, I believe. And he's been around young guys. He knows how to reach them, knows how to interact with them, knows how to get them up and ready to go. So I get it. I understand it. I wasn't a big fan of it when they first gave the job to him, but I'm pretty sure that the Ricky Weeks is clearly the manager in waiting for the fact that they make him the associate manager, and I think they're going to do everything they can in order to get him the job. And then, unfortunately, last week they non-tender Brandon Woodruff, and it sucks, but it makes sense. He's not going to pitch in 2024. He may not pitch again. Do you really want to tender him and pay him around 15-16 million after arbitration to basically just rehab, and then he leaves in free agency? Do you really want to do that? To me, the answer is no. Do you then sign a short-term extension with him and hope that he can come back and be the same pitcher he was? The problem is the injury Woody has. There's no guarantee he's ever going to be able to pitch in a big league game again. There's unfortunately no guarantee. The Brewers did the right thing. I know it's easy to get mad and blame and yell at Mark Antanasio as being a cheapskate or cheap ass and things like that. But at the end of the day, they had to. They had to non-tender him because you're going to be paying a lot of money for a pitcher that's not going to throw a baseball for you probably ever again. So you non-tender him, you keep the door open for him coming back once he's rehabbed and healed. Maybe you get him on a 1-year prove-it deal and see what you have. But unfortunately, we just don't know enough about the particular shoulder injury that he had to know if he would be able to pitch at a high level, let alone pitch again. So, Badgers. Year one of Fickle, 1 game left. Minnesota Gophers this coming Saturday for the Yaks, and the Badgers are bowl eligible once again for the 22nd or 23rd year in a row. And there's some concerns and things that I have in regards to the Giannis and Griffin going at it a little bit there. That's interesting. Giannis obviously didn't like something Griffin said or vice versa. So kind of something to keep an eye on, I guess. And I'm sure the national media will overreact to the conversation between the two like they love doing. But back to the Badgers. It's been a very disappointing season. I think we all were expecting better play from the Badgers this season. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened. It's going to take a little longer for the for Fico to really instill what he wants to instill and do what he wants to do at Wisconsin. It's going to unfortunately take a little bit longer for that to happen. But the concerns and issues I really have at this moment for the Badgers, and it's something they do need to figure out, is the slow starts. They start slow, dig themselves in a hole, then they have to try to come back in the second half and dig their way out of it. Unfortunately, it's a lot of times this season it's been too little, too late. But that's the biggest thing I need to see Wisconsin figure out and work out, is just those slow starts. That's the only concern I really have for Luke Fickell. I feel that it's becoming commonplace, common knowledge for the team to start slow and then have to figure it out and whatnot. So, and I guess I don't have time to talk Survivor Series. I was going to a little bit, but my computer's not going to make it. So, with that said, I will have a weekend recap show on Monday or Tuesday of next week, and we'll potentially recap the Packer Lions game shortly after the final whistle and give you my immediate thoughts on the Thanksgiving game. With that said, hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you enjoy whatever you're doing, be it time with family or loved ones or friends or whatever. And with that said, I'll get back at you likely tomorrow, but for sure next week. Talk to y'all later, everybody.